All right, now I have to jump back because my daughter will kill me if I don't mention her favorite player, and I've skipped over shortstop. Is Jose Reyes was your selection at shortstop? Um, Difficult choice. Uh,
No, yeah, no, not at all. I mean, he has the second most hits in Mets history, and probably the most exciting player the Mets have ever had. He's maybe not on the same level as a Strawberry or Good in terms of not fulfilling their full potential, because Jose Reyes is the only batting champion the Mets have ever had. Uh, but he came up a little bit short in terms of what we thought of him. Some of that was injuries, but 2005, 6, 7, and 8 were really fantastic, and then 2011 is when he won the batting championship. So to say he was not worthy of a spot on the team would be really misguided. So made sure to put him as the starter. I think it was a little bit wrong to bring him back in 2016 because he was not only a shell of his former self, but he was coming off of the domestic abuse charge. And,
did, did
yeah, go ahead.
did that hurt his any fanfare of him not being on the Mets anymore at that same time that he was with David Wright? I mean, David Wright was being celebrated, and
Yeah.
everybody loves him, and it was kind of Jose Reyes is over here, same situation minus the injury. He's not going to be around anymore, and it was just see you later.
Yeah, no, I mean, I think he endeared I mean, he got great fan support while he was there. I think the fact that he left in free agency, but that really wasn't his fault. I mean, the Mets really didn't pursue him in free agency. I think a lot of people wanted to re-sign him. And it was in his right to kind of look at other offers. And when the Mets kind of said, "Oh, surprise, surprise, they weren't going to spend a lot of money," he went on to Miami. So I don't think that hurt his fan reputation at all. At least for me, the whole domestic violence thing kind of did it for me. His reputation was slightly tarnished from there, and I'm not the only one that didn't feel that. I'm not the only one that felt that he probably was not right for the Mets to take on in 2016. I don't, to me, he didn't have that much of an impact in that year, and then the 2 years after that. So I think if he didn't come back to the Mets, he still would have made the all-time team, just because those 3 years really were not anything to write home about.
Right, and right behind him you had Buddy Harrelson, who's beloved. Um, what do you think about him?
Yeah, in the same vein of Jerry Grody, where defense was his specialty, that was Bud Harrelson, and I made sure to include and to put emphasis on his defensive stats because again, he was a guy who would hit eighth, and every once in a while would get a hit. But for the most part, he was in the lineup because of his fielding. And if you hear from anyone from the 69 or the 73 or the teams of Bud Harrelson's era, they will talk about how important he was. He was the glue of the defense. And, for the teams of 69 and 73 or around that time, defense was so important to the Mets' success because they were pitching centered, they were, run prevention centered, and Bud Harrelson was in the middle and was the main cog in making sure that they kept runs off the board. In addition to Jerry Grody, but as far as being in the infield, it was Bud Harrelson, and I made sure to put some kind of sabermetric friendly stats to show that how important he was. In addition to mentioning his Gold Glove, his All Star appearances.
And you also, I'm glad to see you mentioned Ray Ordonez as an honorable mention. Ray Ordonez, who people don't know, was just an amazing fielder. I mean, when he came up, and I can still see a play that he made in left field on a cutoff throw coming home. Could you talk
Yeah.
about him a little bit?
Yeah, no, he was compared when he came out. I remember when he came up, he was compared to Ozzie Smith. And that first game you were talking about, I remember that was opening day, '96. It was against the Cardinals, actually Ozzie Smith's last year, and he made this play. He was taking a throw. He was like the cutoff man, taking a throw from left field, and as the cutoff man, then threw home from his knees and got I think it was Royce Clayton coming home, and that helped the Mets win on opening day 1996. But he made some spectacular plays, and he not just excelled with the spectacular play, but he also made just the routine plays. I know he set a record for most consecutive errorless games. I'm trying to remember what year that was, but it was he certainly did that. I think 99 or 2000. And he was what I kind of, in a sense, what we thought he was going to be, a great fielder, not a great hitter. Almost kind of a guy who hurt the Mets offensively. But kind of like Bud Harrelson was superior with the glove. We all remember that infield in 1999, the Sports Illustrated cover, considered the greatest infield ever, and he was certainly key to making sure that was possible.